Faith is important. More specifically, the faith in our reality. Knowing what is real and what is not. Oftentimes, most of the time, we rely on the news and journalism to report to us the reality. What's really going on in the world around us. Photos are arguably the most direct way that this kind of information is conveyed to us. But what if I told you? What if I told you that this kind of media could be tampered with? That now, in today's world, one must question their own faith and their own understanding in what is conveyed to them through photos.
Unpleasant as it is, this is the situation that is photo manipulation. Photo manipulation is not just a tool, but a dangerous weapon. Photos tend to stick in a person's mind, so when one is altered and manipulated, there is a long-term false image being placed in the viewer's head. First impressions are hard to break, and so such tampering may have permanent psychological consequences.
We're going to start up front with some more blatant tampering. The information here is provided by the Business Insider article, Fox News, We Photoshop, You Decide, by Michael Learmonth, and the Hollywood Reporter article, Fox News airs apparently altered photos, by the author labeled EP. On July 3rd, 2008, Fox News aired two document images of New York Times reporters Stephen Redcliffe and Jacques Steinberg within a report. Redcliffe's photograph was edited so that his entire head was stretched thinner and taller. His forehead was enlarged and the front of his hair was cut back. So much so that he appeared to have a receding hairline. On top of this, his teeth were yellowed, and the saturation of the overall image was increased, so he appeared much more dirty and disheveled. Steinberg's photo was arguably worse. Much like Redcliffe, his head had been narrowed and lengthened, and his teeth were yellowed. In addition, though, his hair was stretched further down, to the point where he appeared to have a bowl cut. Worst of all, his nose was enlarged to be comically big. The effect of this doctrine, or at least the intent, is quite clear. Whether we like it or not, somebody's appearance is one of the first, most immediate ways in which we subconsciously judge them. If we see somebody for the first time as an unhygienic and unclean man with a receding hairline, or a thin-headed, big-nosed reporter with a bowl cut, our subconscious mind will generally take them a lot less seriously.
Although photo manipulation can be dangerous, it can also be used in a more positive way. Case in point, the Beatles. In the 1960s, when the group was at their height, they were all heavy smokers in a time where smoking was still a very mainstream thing. As detailed by the BBC article, Beatles Abbey Road Cigarette Airbrushed. In one of their most famous photos, the album cover of Abbey Road, Paul McCartney had held a cigarette in his right hand. Around 2003, it was airbrushed out of the picture. The ethical implications of this change are quite present. They are important examples of what happens when old photos are altered to fit modern social conditions. On the one hand, the removal of the cigarette reduces its prominence in the media. Oftentimes, in the 60s, cigarettes were glorified in pop culture. By removing the cigarette, a better example is being set, and younger audiences will be less likely to see the cigarette in the album cover as a glorified product, and instead as an obscure, outdated fad. However, there is a problem with doing this. As George Orwell once said, the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of history. Removing something as small as a cigarette could set an unhealthy precedent for other alterations of old photos. It could become a more widespread practice over time, to the point where we may be unable to trust historical photos and end up having an incomplete understanding of history. The way in which we alter photos, no matter how insignificant, could someday become a serious problem.
Similar to how the Beatles had a cigarette removed, Bobby McCowie had her teeth altered, as detailed by the Associated Press article, Mag alters septuplets mom teeth. In 1997, Newspeak published a featured article about Kenny and Bobby McCowie, the parents of the first ever surviving septuplet birth. In the cover page, Bobby had her uneven and yellow teeth, whitened and straightened from the original photo. There are some deep implications to this. By fixing Bobby's teeth, Newspeak is furthering the idea of famous, important, or remarkable people always being in line with beauty standards. As we know from the original image, this did not apply in this case. If perhaps the image remained as it was, it could have held the implication that at all levels of living conditions and struggles, good things such as a miracle septuplet birth are possible. Stifling the difference between people and their own unique traits is unhealthy for society, and it promotes an ongoing idea that everyone who does something important or meaningful is always up to par with beauty standards. It is now clear from these examples how impactful photo manipulation truly is. From first impressions to our everyday social interactions, photo manipulation has a wide range of influence that must be used wisely, or else there may be very unforeseen consequences on society and the media abroad. Thank you.